How's it going, everyone? My name is True Underdog, and Raiden got so many buffs in the recent update, and as a result he is far more godlike than he's ever been before. And while he does still have a couple of glitches that need fixing, he is by far the strongest he's ever been. So without any further ado, let's break down every single change he got. So for starters, his power discharge string got a lot of changes. For one, it's a bit safer on block now. It's -8, so it's still punishable, but still a lot harder to punish than it was before. And then, very similar to Shao Kahn, the final hit comes out on block, and it's an unblockable throw. Now here's the issue, and I do think this will be fixed in the future, but in its current state, this does miss on a lot of characters, especially female characters. So for example, right here we have Devora. I go for the throw, and it works, right? But on some characters, it straight up doesn't, and they can just duck the throw even while blocking. And that's not how it's supposed to work, and I think they will fix it pretty soon. So for now, let's just assume the opponent can't duck that unblockable throw, because that creates a mind game. The idea is, if the opponent thinks the throw is coming, they can let go of block and then either go for a full combo punish or get their uppercut crushing blow when you miss that throw. However, if you think the opponent's going to neutral crouch to avoid that throw, you can just do a special move instead and get a combo started, so that's the mind games. Once again, the mix-up is very similar to Shao Kahn's. However, if you're in Variation 1, you have one more mix-up because his teleport looks very similar to his third hit. So if the opponent expects the throw, you can just teleport and go far away, or if they're still blocking, you can teleport and go for a low, you can teleport and go for an overhead. All that stuff's going to be really good, especially online in Kombat League. So unlike Shao Kahn, Raiden also has the teleport mix-up as well, which may not be as good in an offline tournament, but online where everyone's a bit slower due to the delay, it's going to be very strong. And that was just one string. So next up, Divine Power has a bit of a better hitbox. Look at that, it no longer misses as often. Now it still can, but it's definitely a lot better than it used to be, so it's going to have a tougher time missing as long as the opponent is stand blocking. Thank goodness. This thing was pretty much worthless, and it's a bit better now, so I'm happy to see that. And this next change is kind of crazy. So Heavy Storm now recovers faster on block, and as a result, it's +2. Now it is a high attack, so the opponent can neutral duck it, but even if they crouch block, it still hits most characters, so you're plus on block. That's just fantastic. Now it's only +2, but even so, Raiden had pretty much no way to be plus before, except this one string, which had a huge gap and was pretty much terrible and had so much pushback it wasn't even worth it. Now you're +2 and you're right in the opponent's face, so you finally have a reason to use this move outside of combos. Before, you pretty much always did the knee because it was a mid, otherwise they would just crouch duck under this, but now they can't, and if they try, you're +2 on block. That's just fantastic. And Raiden's back 2 also got some love as well, so this is the overhead. So now the second hit has more pushback on block, so look at that, they're a bit further away. Now it's still -18, it's not a super great change, but it's a bit nice because if they go for a jab punish, it's not going to reach. They're going to have to go for a further reaching high attack or a further reaching mid something, because the regular high attack's not going to cut it anymore on block. So that's a nice change. Not a big one, but I think it's nice. And then we have Deadly Storm. So this move now has a better hitbox, so it shouldn't whiff nearly as often, especially on opponents who are crouching, jumping, or doing combos, all that stuff. And also it's better on block apparently. Let's check it out. So now it's +6, look at that, it used to only be +1. So I kind of take back what I said, +6 is really good, that's perfect for this, 11 frame startup. So now it's essentially a frame trap as long as you have frame perfect timing, that's going to be really good. Wow, I like that a lot. So if you have really good timing and you force them to respect this, the back 1-2 is pretty much guaranteed unless they backdash or just walk backwards. They're gonna have to deal with that. They can't press any attack buttons. They should lose in theory. And I wonder if that's even better in the corner. Let's check it out. Okay, so unfortunately it does push you back, but you are still a lot closer than you would be mid-screen. I was hoping you'd be close enough to reinforce a jab or like a crouching attack, but you're really not, so instead your best option is still gonna be back 1-2 or back 1-4. That's still a pretty darn decent frame trap when you're +6. So once again, a pretty nice change, and this string gets even better on block in the corner since you're just a bit closer. And next up we have one of my favorite changes, so Might of Morgulus. So this string, the third hit, now comes out on block. And it's -16, but look at all that distance. Most characters can't punish this even with a fast special move, which means you now have a very good hit confirm. If the first 2 hits land, go for a special move and get your damage. If the first 2 hits are blocked, then finish it with that last hit and you're very, very safe. Now to be fair, it wasn't punishable anyway, but sometimes when you're in Variation 2, you want to pop the buff even on block, and if the opponent expects that and tries to punish you early, then you catch him with the third hit instead because they're not expecting it. That alone is going to be a really nice mix-up for the Raiden variation. And once again, keep in mind this comes out on miss as well, so just look at this. Look at the range on this thing. Now it is a mid and not a low, but look at all that knockback. It pretty much guarantees the buff once again in the Raiden variation, so that's very nice. I love this hit confirm. It was already one of Raiden's best moves, and now it's just that much better. Once again, on block, finish the string, but if it lands, special cancel and get your damage. Very nice change, I love this. And last but not least, we have his final attack string, Massive Destruction. So this second hit is now a mix-up and has slightly better pushback. It's already -6, so only one character can punish that, and that's Raiden himself, and even then only in variation 2. However, this overhead change is actually very nice because it gives him a mix-up in variation 2. He has a mid overhead, and then if they're blocking high all the time, he has a mid low. Very nice, and this is his fastest mid, by the way. So if you want a frame trap after that move that's +6, you can also go for this. I forgot to mention that. It's a much safer pressure tool to go for, whereas back 1-2 leads to more mix-ups. So if you want to mix up pressure on block, it's still 11 frames, but it's a bit riskier. Whereas this option, the mix-ups aren't really there unless you're in variation 2, but even so, it's a much safer option. So just keep that in mind. You have two different options if they block this string right here, which is the 3-2-1. If they block that, you have this option for the mix-ups or this option to keep yourself safer. They're both very fast at 11 frame startup. And then we have the special move changes. So Lightning Bolt got a lot of buffs. So for starters, it comes out a bit faster, 27 frames now. And also if it misses, it recovers a bit faster as well. It also has more pushback on block, and perhaps best of all, it has a very big cancel window for the amplified option. Look how long you can wait before amplifying it. So what that means is you could possibly catch somebody jumping or just catching someone trying to advance too soon. So they either block the high version or they just duck it, and then they try to dash too soon only to be caught by your amplify because you delayed it. So essentially this lightning bolt is now a very powerful spacing tool as long as you have one bar, because the opponent has to think if you're going to amplify it or not, because once again you can delay it quite a lot and it's very tricky. And keep in mind the amplified version also got some buffs as well. So it has more pushback on block, and it's already neutral. It's 0 frames on block, so nobody has the advantage, which means this pretty much resets the neutral, so very good stuff. Now they could try to duck the first attack and punish you, but as long as they don't do that, you can actually keep yourself safe now after a lot of strings. And then finally, the amplified version is also better on hit as well, so check that out, plus 32. That's going to make it really good if you're right in the opponent's face or if you have them cornered. Plus 32 is really good, definitely a guaranteed buff once again, so very strong for the Raiden variation. However, variation 1 also got some love as well, so now the opponent can't break away until the final hit of Storm Cell. The first 2 hits are pretty much guaranteed to land, so let's check that out. I'm going to tell Devora to break away as soon as possible, and let's check it out. So there you go, she can't break away until that third hit, so I can dash forward and get my uppercut. It's pretty much guaranteed. It's just like Katana's fan lift. They can't break away right away anymore, and that's very nice. I love this change, because before, poor Raiden just got robbed, right? Now unfortunately, if you launch the opponent, they can still break away immediately. But if they're on the ground, now they have to deal with it, so this change is very good for his variation 1, which I do think was lacking since Raiden got all those sweet buffs. And his electric fly also got some love as well, so for starters, it can no longer be parried, which does make sense because Raiden is airborne. You shouldn't be able to parry someone who's doing an attack where they're in the air, that just makes sense. And then best of all for this move, it's much easier now to get his crushing blow. You don't have to be nearly as far, so let's see here, does this work? Not quite, a little bit further than that. But still, look how close I am compared to before. I was landing this all the time against a buddy earlier. So now this crushing blow is going to be seen a lot more, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's not more ways to combo into it now. So if you know of any combos that lead to his crushing blow, please post in the comments, I'd love to read them. And one more very nice change is Summon Lightning now has a bigger hitbox on opponents who are being comboed, and that's great because it basically means that Raiden is now one of the higher damaging characters in the game when it comes to his combos. And that was already the case as long as you were fighting a male character, but if you're fighting somebody with a smaller hurt box, especially female characters, this combo really didn't work from mid-screen, at least not as easily. But now thanks to the hitbox adjustment, it's going to be a lot easier to get from mid-screen, and once again, I was landing it all the time against a buddy today. Now unfortunately, this next change I really don't like, so Summon Lightning is actually his armor breaking move and the one that beats Breakaway. and that has a lot of problems right away, so armor breaking moves not only will beat breakaway, but they're also supposed to beat things like fatal blow. And that's pretty much never going to happen unless you're fighting somebody like Cassie Cage, who actually goes into the air for her fatal blow. Otherwise, this move will sadly never break the armor of a fatal blow move because most of them just don't leave the ground. And then on top of that, as you may have already noticed, its angle isn't the best for catching people in certain situations. Like even right there, man, that just sucks. This might be one of the worst armor breaking moves in the game. Thankfully everything else is really good for Raiden so far, but I just can't get behind this decision. It's honestly just not a very good choice for the armor breaking move. Once again, the angle's not that great for catching people in a lot of situations, and it's also not fast enough to catch them a lot of the time. And of course, once again, it also won't work on a majority of moves that have armor, pretty much only breakaway, and even then, only in certain situations. However, on a positive note, Summon Lightning is faster now. It's 11 frames instead of 14, so it's a better anti-air, easier to combo into, all that good stuff. And then for the final changes, we have a couple of buffs for Variation 3. So Lightning Rod now does more damage on hit, it's 70 instead of 60. And then on top of that, the lightning reflecting off of it also does more damage. So instead of 30, it now does 40. So that's very nice. Variation 3 didn't get very many changes, which I think will make it not as playable as some people hoped. But at the same time, Variation 1 and 2 were the most used, so I'm glad they got a lot of attention. In summary, Raiden's just a lot more solid now. Aside from that one glitch where his throw does whiff on some characters, everything else is a fantastic change. Hopefully now we'll see a lot more Raidens at tournaments. But please let me know your thoughts on these Raiden changes in the comment section down below. And then while you're down there, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.